This is the Throneroom stage. Is the eventual champion about to play? Who needs a game plan? The Russian Zerg, Hamster. It's been a long time coming, but this player is once again a title contender. A 5-game set against Neblime's Protoss narrowly denied Hamster's return to the Grand Final. And now, he's got himself a rematch. Our last remaining Zerg is moments away from doing battle against our last remaining Terran. It came down to the wire before. Will it be so again? Titan Slayer, Tyrant Killer. The Venezuelan Terran, Aeud 64. This player may have had the most difficult road of them all, falling to Hamster at the 11th hour before outlasting Top Ramen and hit him up. We know he's good. He even took Neblime down in 3 games out of 4 back in the battlement stage. As the best Terran in Cosmonarchy, will we see him again tomorrow? Or is this fated to be his final fight? It's time to find out! Hamster! Aeud 64! Throneroom! Ladies and gentlemen, I am bringing you Cosmonarchy's penultimate match of the year. Competition, you say? It's the Throneroom stage of Acropolis number 2, and we are waiting for the veto to get underway for our lower final. The last best of 5 we have, because the grand final is a best of 7. Neblime, the Protoss galore, watches on from the upper bracket, waiting for who will advance to face him in that best of 7. And it's going to be one of our players, Hamster, the Russian Zerg, Aeud 64, the Venezuelan Terran. They are ready, and the map veto starts now. Hamster has pick-ban advantage, and will be deciding on his first ban. It will be Rage Slave taken out of the equation. Aeud 64 is up on deck, ready to ban his map. Will it be Spinal Tap? Will it be Paradise? These are maps he may have struggled against Hamster before. Remember, this is a rematch of our elimination, or rather our second semi-final there on the right side of the bracket. We can take a look at the upper bracket to show you guys exactly what we are talking about. They've already met previously in the tournament. A 5-game set that goes to Hamster. Aeud will, in fact, be banning Spinal Tap, not willing to take on that particular duty. Now, our map pick is up. Hamster will select our starter. And look at that. He's going to Muspelheim. That was a match that, in their series, Aeud won on that starter. Very interesting that he goes for that map. And as the lobby is configured, we're waiting for Aeud 64's starter pick. It will be Demaloon, the map that kickstarted his comeback against Hit 'em Up just yesterday. It's been 5-game sets galore for Aeud, honestly, ever since his 3-0 cruising over Cannoli. He's narrowly avoided a 5-game against Top Ramen. It was 3-1 in the Elimination 2A match. 5 games against Hamster, 5 games against Hit 'em Up. Will the rematch against this Zerg player offer more? Hamster vetoing Paradise, a map that he won with a Zoryus rush against Ayud64 in their previous set, will not be repeating the opportunity. And would you look at that? Check Stealer, vetoed by Ayud64. We are done with that map, at least for the time being. Near Impact will be our third map. Our first 3 maps guaranteed. Muspelheim, Demaloon, Near Impact. What comes next? Ayud64 selects Genesis Y. This is a map that Hamster did not lose until he played against Neblime in the upper final. Blackwater Bastion will be our decider if it is in fact required, which means that our maps are this: Muspelheim, Demaloon, Near Impact, Genesis Y, Blackwater Bastion. Well, I am very excited about seeing this matchup take place, and I think we have a little bit of time here before we kick the match off to bring in Ayud64 and see if he wants to say a few words to us. Hello, Ayud. How are you on this fine afternoon as you prepare for your rematch against Hamster? Check, check. He might not actually be here. He might have been AFK. We might have pulled the man in before he was ready.
Yeah, hello. I was kind of AFK, sorry.
Welcome. No, it's all good. I was just wondering how you're feeling because this is a rematch. You two brawled in a 5-game set, and here you are returning. Are we going to see another 5 games, or do you think you got this matchup figured out?
No, not at all. I think when it comes to Zerg, everything is like a flip coin, you know.
Okay.
And my confidence against Zerg opponents is not as high. I mean, I have some strategies planned, but I mean, we are talking about Hamster, and he usually plays a very aggressive style.
Yes.
Which I'm not very comfortable to play against. But well, let's see how it goes.
Indeed. If we cast our eyes over to the map pool for this particular series, were you surprised by his banning of Rage Slave? And tell me about your decision to ban Spinal Tap. Those were the first rounds of this veto here.
Yeah, well, I decided to ban those maps where there is no ramp, because I know Hamster, you know, he's a very aggressive, and if I find myself in a situation that I have to fall back, you know, to retreat for a little bit and you know, to survive, a ramp on my base will make it easier for me to, you know, to hold on. That's why I chose those 2 maps for the ban.
That makes sense. Getting rid of Check Stealer, getting rid of Spinal Tap. When it comes to Hamster's vetoes, were you sad to see Rage Slave and Paradise go, or did those vetoes catch you by surprise? Do you have any strong reaction to them?
Well, Rage Slave, I'm kind of fine with that ban, and maybe he wants to prevent drop play, because in Rage Slave drop play is very strong. And Paradise, I'm not quite sure, because I think Paradise is a pretty standard map for every race. Maybe he just filled that position in because, I don't know, maybe he just wanted to choose other maps, or maybe he practiced more on the ones he chose. So I'm not quite sure about Paradise, but Rage Slave, maybe he wants just to prevent drop play, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And when it comes to Paradise, like you said, that one seems like more of a middling map. We're going to the map picks here. Muspelheim was also the starter when Hamster took you to task on it, and you were able to get a comeback win on that map. That was game 1 of your previous series. Are you feeling confident that Muspelheim once again rears its head? Are you worried that maybe he's got something planned? Talk to me about that one.
Well, yeah, during our practice games, we most likely played in every map, and I believe he took the ones we played in Muspelheim. So maybe he's confident he's gonna do it again. I'm kind of worried about that map in particular. Yes, so
Okay.
that was a nice pick for him. But I was just reviewing the games we played. I think I have some answers that I might have to show on that map.
Gotcha. Okay. We see Demaloon once again rear its head. Obviously, you were able to take down Hit 'em Up in a Terran mirror, but how are you feeling about TVZ on that map?
Well, like I said, TVC for me it's like a flip coin sometimes. Hamster is a very unpredictable player. There is not that big of a difference of the maps I choose. I just choose Demilion because I feel pretty comfortable playing on that particular map. I think most of my games I've done it on that map. That's why it was my first choice.
Okay, makes sense. And then when we come to the inimitable Near Impact, this is a map that you've played a lot of as well. That's going to end up being our third map, and should this series deliver the way that I'm expecting it to, we will go even beyond that. I know Near Impact is another map that you're probably pretty comfortable on, similar to Demolin. It seems to get played a lot. But the interesting flex into Genesis Y here, up until Hamster fought against Neblime, he had not dropped a match on Genesis Y, but you've picked it into him, just sort of like how he picked it into you. He picked Muspelheim into you after dropping it previously. So, is this kind of the inverse of Muspelheim for you? Do you have a plan for that map in particular, or is that just another extension of the Demaloon and Near Impact side where you just have comfort?
Well, to be honest, I didn't know he had the strong play on Genesis Y. I just pick it up because I think that's a map where I can safely defend, and if I get control over the cliffs, it should be easier to defend and engage his army. Because he's most likely gonna use Bactals into his composition. I think if I can mix some phalanx this time around, I should be fine.
Okay. Definitely looking for that adaptation to pull out the extra add-on there instead of relying purely on the scrapyard, flexing into the ever-important phalanx for that. Interesting stuff, because I do think that there's probably there's a lot of people who talk about how strong Bactalisks are, and there's no getting around it. They are strong. But I'm interested to see what the response to that can be. We're coming to the 11th hour of the tournament. And so, our decider, Blackwater Bastion, a 4-spawn map. Tell me how you're feeling about that. If this goes to 5 games, how confident are you on Blackwater?
This is a tough one because I have a strong confidence with my macro play. I believe my macro is better than Hamster's, but sometimes he will pull off these weird strategies that will hurt my economy so much. And in a map like this, Zerg might get out of control real quick. So I think I have to play it real safe on that map. But once I settle my macro and my army composition, I think there is no stopping for my winning.
Okay, so as long as you can survive the early stages of the game, everything should be just fine. Kind of echoing what you said in the interview regarding Hit 'em Up, actually. So, similar sort of game plan coming into this. You didn't end up getting any TVZs against Hit 'em Up, so your practice in officials, you weren't really able to springboard out of the last series into that. But, you're talking about confidence. We're talking about like how maybe this matchup does feel a bit coin flippy. At the same time, you defeated Hit 'em Up yesterday. Surely you can defeat anybody. How's your overall mindset coming in? Are you feeling that little maybe boost to the ego, so to speak, or is you still think this is anybody's tournament?
There was an important factor when I faced Hit 'em Up, is that he never rolled Zerg. I think that is something good and bad for me because, I mean, Hamster didn't really had the chance to see my strategies versus Zerg.
Right.
So that's a good thing. But at the same time, it has been a while since I haven't played against, a Zerg of a high caliber. So I don't really know if the previous games I played, before the hit 'em up matches, will help me against hamsters now, because I believe he had prepared something. I'm not quite sure, but he probably will come up with some crazy and aggressive builds, and I believe Hamster is the kind of player that he does better on a tournament settings than in practice games. So I cannot get overconfident. So I would rather try to stay calm, trust in my game. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, my man, I am grateful for the intro interview, and hopefully we'll see you afterwards for some more. I'm looking forward to what this series has in store. I've been saying that pretty much every step of the way, but as we get down to the last few, they become progressively more and more important. One of you will face Nablime tomorrow. So, good luck, sir. And if you have any closing thoughts, final words to share with the crowd, feel free to do so now.
Well, thank you. I hope I don't disappoint this time around. Games against Hamster. This is like the comeback. It should be my comeback round matches.
Yep.
So I hope I do advance to the finals against Nablime.
That's it. That's what we're here for. All right, Ayud. Good luck, my man, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Hamster will remain in the strong silent type for this round, but hey, if he makes it into that grand final, I'm going to have Translator Commander on standby to help us interview this mad lad. Just waiting for our players to confirm their ready state as they get ready for the lower final. It's a best of 5, and we're starting on Muspelheim. We're ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. Get ready to see which colors they are and which sides of the map they're spawning on. We've got Hamster in the bottom left. He is the Russian Green Zerg. And we've got Ayud64 in the top right. He is the Pumpkin Terran. Zerg versus Terran. I didn't think this matchup was still going on. I wasn't sure a Terran would make it this far. I was pretty sure a Zerg wouldn't make it this far, yet Hamster has a way of bucking trends. And let's be honest here, Ayud64 has been on a roll, really putting himself back on the map as a contender. He looked so damn good in practice games before his mountain trip. He wasn't really able to show too much, and we already see some cheek from the Ham. Getting some gas after a Hydrath den. Will this be Larvosk after the den? Will this be Hydras straight into mech? We know that Ayud likes to favor the mech. We also know that he pulled a double stockade proxy without really caring what Hit 'em Up's race was all the way back on Near Impact, and yet he did say in an interview the plan was to do that versus Zerg. So Ayud will most likely bring that build up at some point. It's an Ovaleth follow-up for Hamster as he gets ready to throw down his Kagrant. That will, of course, end up being a Larvosk. I think this is an Iziracore Fairy, but I'm not 100% sure. Let's see. No, it's actually going to be 2 Hydras. Okay. We'll keep that in mind. It could actually be the Kagrant being moved by the Ovaleth, but I guess we'll have to find out. Oh, it is. Ladies and gentlemen, Hamster is prepping a Kagrant drop. But is he doing it to degen his way a little bit closer to the ramp or to the choke? Or what exactly is he planning? The Hydras are going to ore block to clear out the Mason. The Ovaleth is very suspicious at this stage, but you might just assume it's to A-move the mines of the Vulture. And behind this, Ayud has gone for a quarry, blind, not exactly sure what Hamster is all about. With the Ovaleth revealing the mines and the Hydras sniping it from a distance, it's going to be some time before Ayud can contest this. We do have more Hydras sort of slowly moving across. We even have a Droleth. That's going to be brought with it to help the Kagra spread of that Ovaleth. Oh no, but he might have struck a little bit too soon. Getting a little bit too big for his britches. He can't even burrow that Hydra. That's a dead Hydra. That could very well cripple the position for Hamster. Everything here is so tight. What more does he have in here? Here comes the push. He's going to go ahead and unload that Kagrant right then and there. And look at that, trying to get the stun off, but he only succeeds in stunning a few of his units. I think he may have bungled this. Oh boy, he's got another Hydra coming in. He can at least split the focus of the Kagrim, but no, not quite. Oh, heartbreak for Hamster. He's prepped that build. He had this in mind from the word go. But maybe he needed to play himself back into force with his hands. It's a crafty build, but he's down by a significant number of workers. And the vultures are given chase. Oh, that wounded vulture is the one with the mines. Oh, it goes down. Not a single mine planted. Where does Hamster go from here? Dramatically behind the 8-ball when it comes to the worker count here. What does Hamster do? Looks like he's going to go for a Larvosk. I mean, he does have a bit more Vespene income than anything else, so it does make some sense. The Talos is going to go ahead and hunt down a little bit of scouting intel. And a Goliath is on the way. It looks like Aoud being a bit defensive, but he might be thinking about moving out with the Goliath. He might remember that Goliaths with Talos Repair are pretty damn good. Hydras are going to go ahead and continue hunting through things. He's going to mass up for maybe an elevator play. There's already preemptive mines placed here by Aoud's second Vulture, which is very nice there. And then the Stockade coming on down. Let's see how it goes. The Ovoleth just kind of moving around, seeing what it sees. It's going to get stabbed out by the Goliath. You know, something that Hamster has recognized right now is that there are no mines, but with the second Goliath, 4 Hydras are not going to be able to do too much. In fact, he's going to turn around immediately, and the Talos is just kind of hovering over here. That should be a signal to Hamster. He should know. Okay, you've got that. Now I know. He's actually going to try to heckle it, but obviously the doodads there do stop it from being too deep. Now, the Taloses are very good at not just distance mining the gas, but also establishing a treasury down here if that's what Aoud wants to do. One base for Hamster, of course, still, he's down by half the worker count right now, is adding a second Larvosk. This game would have to go very long for the Zerg player to catch back up, and I don't know if Aoud recognizes how all-in that opening move was. This might give a little bit of time for Aoud 64 to bounce back, so to speak. But, I don't know. I feel like Hamster just doesn't have anything over here that can realistically counter what Aoud is building up. You know, he's taken his time to get the Blackjacks up, the Goliaths up. He does have a couple of them already. So, with the Shaman, there's going to be a timing attack here that I don't believe Hamster will be able to respond with. He's posturing with his Ovoleth, right? He sees the distance mining. He sees the Iron Foundry going to be brought down. So he kind of knows what's going on, I guess. What else do you have in the tank, Hamster? That play could have been splendid if it worked out. Unfortunately, as we saw, it was not quite working out after all. Let's see what happens. The mech army emerges from its shell, and Hamster will indeed return. Best he can do is do a bit of heckling on the way out, but the Vultures will catch those Hydras. One of them will go down. Almost trades 1-for-1 there, but again, Hydras do cost Vespene, and Hamster has almost no units. He must expect to be run over at this point. He's caught back up, kind of, when it comes to the worker count. He's still so far beyond what he should be, behind what he should be. 2 treasuries being put down, 1 at the natural, 1 with the Talos at the back base. Aoud's got plenty of legs to move through this, and realistically speaking, with all the Blackjacks and that 1 Shaman, Hamster's just going to get run over here. That's my not-so-bold prediction. But I love that he had the plan. I love that he had the game plan. He's thinking about how to engage. His Zethicors have already started to fall. Shaman is admittedly all the way in the back, so not ideal there. Trying to focus down those Blackjacks. Yeah, he's got to call GG. He just doesn't have enough. And Aoud, he might have taken a little bit of time to realize it, but it doesn't take a telepath to figure that one out. Aoud up 1-0. Hamster's going to be kicking himself for the control on that attempt. Now we go to Demaloon, Aoud's map pick. Things are looking pretty good. If Hamster can shake that off, then all will be well with the world. Because I'm still hoping to see a tight series between these two. It might have started unceremonious, but come on. That was a cool idea. And to some degree, if you bounce back in a conventional game, you can still threaten that kind of build order. You can still do some kind of aggro, timing, all-in type of move. It's still a possibility. Now, as we get back into the match, adjusting our scores on the doors, Ayud64 leads the series, but it's only just begun. Ladies and gentlemen, Hamster will be our Russian Green Zerg in the bottom right with an instant pool. Ayud64 in the top left, the Pumpkin Terran. What's he got? He's going Fulcrum. Is he just going to keep to it? And will it be Fulcrum into Talos? Because that's what Hamster figured out. He said, "Okay, you went straight into the you went for the whole shebang, right? You went for the macro build. If I had controlled my army better, I might have pressured you down." So if we see that blind quarry, Ayud should be filled with some form of confidence. Who would go from one all-in to the next? It's an insane opening gambit from Hamster. Three pairs of Zethra-cores. There's the fourth. And he's got a Larvosk behind it. This is a kind of like a macro spin on the opening pool, isn't it? And there's that quarry we were talking about. Cuts the workers. He's going to have one vulture, and it should be done as the Zethra-cores get there. Let's see how slow they are from this Mason Scout, if they're slow at all. Turns out not really that much. Massing up, Ayud knows he's in trouble. Anchor dropped. He's going to have his Fulcrum complete the vulture as the Zeths get to the bridge of the natural. And with a Talos, you can repair without the Zeths actually doing any pressure. Now, let's see where those mines go. He doesn't dare go all the way down to the low ground. Good instincts. He's going to try to guard the mine placement here. First two, good connections. Oh, narrowly avoids getting stunned by his own mine. That anchor is complete. So this should help to cancel the push in theory, but the Talos went away. The Talos is not repairing, and the boys were not pulled. That's a dead vulture, and another one jumped straight on. He's going to go after the quarry, knowing that that's a big investment. Tried to repair it with the Talos, now going after the workers. They have not been in this fight at all for Ayud64. He's going to need to consider what he's going to do. Some of those units getting a little bit pulled. One of those Masons is so damn low, but it looks like he'll only lose one. Taking his frustration out on that Fulcrum for a moment, but it seems he's recovered. The only problem is Hamster's over here on the other side, making a couple quads for safety, adding his extra piece of larva production. Now he's going into his macro transition, and I mean, I guess it's kind of an even situation. Losing the quarry does feel real bad for the Terran in terms of growth of their economy. If they drop another quarry, that does suck. It's going to be a Cyclops drop follow-up with a star pad halfway complete. Good snipe on that last one. All right, that's going to be another Larvosk when the money presents itself. There it is. Hamster getting plenty of action there. He does have a small number of quads, and the Talos can give vision up the cliff, but looking at it right now, I'd still say he's more than safe. Nice mine placement over here at 6 o'clock. Zeth's clearing the mines. Gotta watch out for that, because even though Ayud has the... he's just gonna go ahead and drop some more. He's got the Talos, right? But as you can see, him dropping the mines that way, it's easy fodder for the Zeths to clean up. What else has Hamster got cooking? Going straight for the Vornath Pond, adding a few more Droleths. Now, he doesn't know what is coming up as the follow-up here, and we see it will be a 4 Cyclops drop. Only problem here is that Ayud doesn't have a lot of surface area to worry about, right? So now that he's allowing Hamster to break out and maybe take a natural, this could be an opportunity for Hamster to get surprised by the drop. It's kind of paradoxical, but you almost want to give up the contain with your front line so that your opponent actually stretches their units out, because otherwise their quads are just sitting here and they can rotate down to clear the drop as it comes in. Now, no Sixth Sense for Hamster just yet, but his Vornath Pond is almost complete. He might actually be thinking of going Nathracors, which would end up being pretty useful in this situation. I love the Zethicors moving through. If he spots the Cyclops as the Zeths come in, will he think, oh, you've got the Cyclops, I gotta worry about a drop? I'm not sure. People don't typically go for Cyclops unless they're dropping. But maybe he just thinks it's a move out. No, look at that. Pulling the Quas out just already, thinking about that possibility. So, again, there's that like little call and response thing. He's aware that a drop could come in for that vulnerable position. Gonna leave him on patrol as his Zorka's Shroud gets started. Now, we can see that the Trojan is actually going to enter in through the natural path. And the first pair of Nathracors is all the way out, so that will get into the base and maybe heckle a few Talos or something. Remember, their anti-air DPS is pretty good. Let's see. Natural Hatrosk is going to be a little bit too slow and too low vision to spot the Trojan coming on out. There goes the Nats heckling a Mason that's doing some shenanigans. What's Hamster's reaction? He's only now seeing the dot. He pulls the Quas immediately and gets the workers away from there. So as the Cyclops unload, they're already kind of absent targets. Here come the Vorvs and the Zets to slow things down, forcing an unload immediately. The Nats have finally been brought down, but not before a little bit of self-damage picked on in. And look at that! The surround there. The Trojan narrowly going to get out with 1 HP, and now an Anseal offered up for it. I don't think the Quas count is high enough to actually kill this thing. Well, it would have been, but I don't think Hamster knew it either. And the Trojan dies tragically towards the bottom. So yeah, that Anseal will indeed get away, but definitely a chaotic start to this game. Remember, it was an instant pool, 6 pool, into a macro-based follow-up, with Hamster having a worker advantage, slowing the hastening of Aoud 64's economy by killing the quarry, killing an anchor. He only got 1 Talos out, and he's used it all right, but now he's got to go flex into that Palladium. Stockade, making Harakans, try to keep the Zerg at bay. Scouting the Shroud is pretty big news, too, because now Aoud can be somewhat aware of the fact that his opponent is most likely going to be making some Lakes. He still has more Cyclops coming out of the Fulcrum, which is kind of interesting as a choice. And there goes the Anseal just getting shorn away. It's mass gas mining at the natural. He hasn't saturated any of the mineral workers just yet. 10 worker lead for Hamster. He could actually pull some of them away from his main, but right now, not a huge deal. Can just continue rallying more down if he wants. A Madrigal coming for Aoud. He's aware of the possibility of those Nathracors. Vestry coming as well. But again, everything is just a little bit slower than he would like. No natural. Sighted and confirmed by Hamster. We see the Ministry being completed here. The move out and the anchor lift. He's going to try to take that. I love the Zeths moving across the map. He's going to go ahead and confirm that, yes, indeed. We do not have anything down there at 6. I mean, the mine is still going to watch for an expansion over in that location, so it's still giving a little bit of vision to Aoud. Everything else on the map is totally dark, and now, yeah, Hamster is absolutely going to spot that there's orange dots moving in and out of his Burrowed Zethicors vision range, so he's going to be aware that that expansion is up. 50 workers for Hamster going mass greed. This is a style he doesn't normally do. He's not known for doing the Droleth, like the mass worker, mass macro style. Up to 1,000 minerals could definitely be spending some of that down, but you can see he's got his sights set on tier 2. That's his play. He's thinking about taking more bases. He's going to double expand from this position. Love to see it. Anti-drop defense. Circuith and Spraith in the natural. Nothing in the main, but plenty of patrolling Quas, so no static defense required. We still don't actually have another Trojan since that last one died at 1 HP in the corner there. Aoud just trying to play himself back into this position. And there's the Iral Iris, down at 8.5 minutes, with a Vorv, Zeth, Lakes move out. So no air defense, crucially. And the 1 Phalanx plus the detection from the Anseal should be good enough here. A Shaman just popped out, and of course the Nathracors are going to see that. They're going to get a pretty deep scout over here, see that there's a star pad, there's nothing else going on. The Zeth gets shellacked by the Phalanx, gets a little bit of splash damage done. Okay, so Hamster has some tempo. His worker got stunned over here, did not end up finishing the hatch placement there. He's going to have to double check that at some point. Be like, hey, that minimap dot should be a bigger box. And he can set up a pseudo-contain over here, I suppose. He's got the 1 Zeth watching the bridge. The move out coming out for Aoud 64. The anchors are just going to be going sideways. Iral Iris nearly complete. Going to start rallying some workers up there, it looks like. Now, Hamster's springing for it. Oh, maybe he could have tried to go after the Madrigal there, but he just kind of forces a preemptive siege, slowing this down. And there's the tier 2 finished. All right. What's Hamster's move? Does he upgrade his pond? Does he go for something else? Spire, perhaps? The Mutat Spire on the way. No Calcure Lake. He's going straight for the Mutaswitch or the Protathalors. We're not sure which. But, you know, it's very rare for the Zerg to have this much of a tech lead over his opponent in this particular matchup. This does not happen all the time. We'll see if AUD64 has been aware of this kind of play. Maybe Hit 'em Up is the one who has done it a few times. Potential catch there on the Phalanx, but Hamster doesn't want to bite too deep. I love the burrowed, or not burrowed, in this case, Zethrakor is just scattered around the map for Hamster, just watching all the potential military exits as he continues to mass up in the middle, sending more and more units out there. With the Spire complete and so much money in the bank, what's he doing? 6 pairs of mutas? No, cancels them. Considers his options. It will be mutas. No, he cancels them again. He's having a tough time of it. There we go. He gets the mutas ordered up. I think he might have been waiting for more larvae, or maybe he just double tapped it or something. So now he's swinging the army up here. 10 pairs of mutas make that. So that's going to be 20 mutas in total that he can pivot directly into the main base. And the Madrigal's with the army. This is really risky from Aud. Like, his front gates are pretty wide open. These Cyclops will not stop that. Those aren't autocrats in an anchored. All right, here we go. Zorius triggering the advance of the Zerg. And honestly, Hamster might have enough here without the mutas, but he pulls back, not wanting to allow all of those phalanxes to do what they need to do. Instead, recognizing that he does have some tempo here. He just needs to stall the force out. He forced the siege. Now he can move forward. There's the first wave of mutas. I think Aud might have caught a glimpse of them. Some of them definitely sounding off. Remember, the one Madrigal is going to cause a lot of headaches for that if they engage with the military. Oh, Hamster, you're playing around with fire here up against the splash damage. There is the one Eidolon as well. Oh, he nukes down the Ant Seal. That's no detection unless those Shamans are deployed. A couple of Lakes are going to get fragged as a result. Here comes the rest of the mutas. He needs to be so careful about that one Madrigal. If he could just get in there and snipe it. He has so many mutas, he can deal with it. But he's not splitting them. He's just kind of A-moving them. He still has such a lead, it almost doesn't matter. He's going to pour on in. His reinforcements still causing issues for Aud's position to be cleared. And yeah, kind of falling apart there at the end. Aud, GG's. He had a lot of money in the bank, but it felt like he just couldn't keep up with what Hamster was throwing at him. And that tier 2 rush must have just shattered him. Okay, boys, Near Impact is up next. This is a map Hamster took in the previous set against, in this exact matchup, not just TBZ, but against AUD64. We'll see what plays differently this time. Waiting on our players to ready up. I think at this point, neither player is necessarily supremely confident, but I'm sure Hamster feels better about getting the aggro out. He's really put the doubt in Aud's mind. Is it going to be enough to make a huge difference or not? We go to Near Impact. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the same spawns as the last map, from Jujik map to Jujik map. That last one was a port of Overwatch. Near Impact, a completely original creation for Cosmonarchy. Hamster will be in the bottom right. The Russian Green Zerg, he's going for it again! Oh, Lord! AUD64 in the top left, he is the Pumpkin Terran. Oh, he's going for a stockade. He ain't screwing around no more. We are going to see an early aggro versus early aggro matchup. Okay. Listen, guys. If Aud had gone for the double stockade in his opponent's face, he would have 100% just lost the game versus 6-pool. That's one of the things that you may not bring out. But he's going for double stockade more laid back, right? He's kind of calling the gambit. Like, okay, you've done all-ins both of those games. If you do it again, I'm safe. And if not, well, hopefully I prepped some kind of turnaround from that. Scouting on 10, getting his Mason out there. Meanwhile, we do have the pool done. And there is a macro follow-up to this with the gas being harvested over here. So it's kind of like identical to the Demoloon match. Okay, he left room for the quarry. I think Aoud wants to go quarry behind his double stockade. He's making a Hurakan at first. You know, you could get surprised with how powerful early Zeths are against one Hurakan. These units were not on an attack move. Oh, yeah, Hamster can't be delayed this time around. Doesn't get the lucky pathing with the A move to clear the Mason over the bridge. And as soon as you see that as Aoud 64, you must be like, yeah, all right, early gas going to the Cyprian. Let's see what happens. Larvos getting tickled by the Mason. I love pulling the Cyprian back. Remember, that's the big boy here. Doesn't end up clearing any of the units. Oh, no, the Cyprian's getting pulled out. Aoud has not noticed it. Aoud has not noticed it. Oh, but Hamster was kind of giving him a lineup. He was a little bit cautious there. Aoud was too busy fighting workers over here in downtown. And the quarry comes down. It's late, but it's still there, and it was not sniped this time. Zeth's just going to do what they can to put some more pressure on, and Hamster, he's pulling the ripcord a lot sooner. If he can keep these Zeths in the area, it's actually really good for him because he just confirms that his opponent isn't moving out. He doesn't actually need to make Quaz. He can just make Droleth for now. This actually could be pretty good for his position. Now, we do have a lot of infantry. That's one of the upsides of going stockade, let alone double stockade, is you do have way more units individually than your opponent is normally used to if you go mech. So, you know, these Zeths are getting softened up, but nothing too crazy just yet. You can see he's actually looking. He's like wondering, did you burrow some Zeths in here? Didn't get a good count on them, I guess. Didn't realize he killed one and there were 7. This one Maverick is unfortunately not going to get a frag and will not be traded. Aoud 64 is not a solid Counter-Strike player, apparently. Doesn't know trade fragging basics. That's actually the second time just in this one game where a unit kind of wandered off. Aoud definitely, I think he's feeling the stress. I think he's feeling a little bit of pressure. Okay. Triple Cyprian. Still got 3 Mavericks, still got 3 Hurakans. He's got 3 of all the basic units he can make out of the stockade. So he's assembling the trifecta. The Trinity. The Nidus Trinity? More Mavericks coming out. There's going to be an attempted timing here. Just making Masons and Taloses behind it. He will be moving across the map. This is the go signal for Hamster. He is adding another Kagrant. Actually, 2 of them. One of them is turning into a Larvos. This one will most likely be a Circuth. Adding the Shroud at this position is very risky, in my opinion. He could have at least maybe pressured to cut reinforcements, maybe heckle them from the side, make it so that there's a punish if you try to move across the map, but maybe he feels like he has enough. He does have 8 Quas. He's got making a lot more now, but I was going to say that Shroud timing is super early. Could bite him in the rear end. Vestry on the way for our Venezuelan Terran, and thinking about maybe double expanding off the back of this. I guess that'll be a treasury over in the north area. One Zeth moving out to scout the position. He's going to go ahead and borrow the rest of the Zeths behind the mineral line. Tickling one of those Mavericks. Ooh. It's gotten got. He stims, but I think he recognizes, yeah, he's not really going to be able to do too much with that. So as he pulls back, he's just going to try to expand behind it. Even on workers. But can Aoud stall out for long enough? Yeah, I think he recognizes he wasn't really able to get enough money to expand a second time. Did not want to go for the treasury. Wants to go for the Fulcrum follow-up with the Star Pad. Looks like he'll probably try Cyclops drop again, which I didn't hate. He confirms no expansion, right? That's like the value of that move out is that he sees that there's no expo. He sees there's a Circuth on the ramp. He sees there's an investment in a Quas. He doesn't know that the Shroud is what's behind it, but he can guess that some more tech was being done. Either that or he's getting a taste of his own medicine with a secret base, right? Now, with that Zeth getting deep enough to see an anchor, I think Hamster will also surmise that there's an expansion up. The one Shaman is kind of problematic for the Lakers because it is going to give a little bit of detection. The Star Pad is going to finish up, and I think by the time the Lakers get there and actually set up a pseudo-contain, the Antseal will be there. Cyprians and Anchors will outrange them. So, to me, it seems like Aoud should be just fine, and we shouldn't see a total, turtle shell bust. I think Hamster will have to play through the game a bit longer than that. But hey, with the Zeth Flood behind it, It's potentially quite deadly, keeping some Quas at home to answer any would-be drops. A Madrigal, the choice du jour. I wonder what that's going to be for. Oh, the Stockade to add a little bit more pain to pushing in. You know, this Madrigal does eat up with the gas. That means there's no Anseal coming. There's the burrow. Oh, man, this is going to be very, very deadly. The Shaman is starting to take a little bit of damage. One of the Lakes does end up falling. That Stockade and the last Anchor also falling. That almost cleared out the Cyprians as well. So the front line, dangerously wounded here. Shaman missing about 40 health. He's just going to reconstruct the Anchors as soon as he has the money to do so. At least one of them. Hydra's then behind this. Hamster thinking about maybe flexing into Hydra's. Probably Bactyls, if I had to guess. He recognizes that this position is going to be a bit difficult. Did he see the Madrigal? Because if he did, then he should know, okay, 100%, we're going to be risking, the Phalanx counter to the Bactyls. Still no Vornath means no Vorps. He cannot push the V key. It is not a possibility. His Chaff just going to get chewed up here to get a deeper scout to see what's going on. And now, with a slight worker advantage turning into much more, he will be at 50 workers very soon. This is where he was at before when he did his 2-base, tier 2 timing. He's going to spend some of his workers on a few static defense structures, but he will definitely be getting up there with the worker count. Already has a 10-worker lead over his opponent straight into a ski-backed. Will not be tier 2 this time around. At least that's what it looks like to me. And to some degree, I understand it. If Mutaswitch was your game plan on Demaloon, you look at the fact that there's already Madrigals out, and you see that your opponent is entrenched with a slight bit of economic tempo, at least at the beginning of the game here with that second expansion. So, you haven't been able to get the damage you wanted out of the Lakes, but you did preserve most of them, so you can keep your investment going. And they can help ensure the Bactylisks do not get run over by Bioforces. Meanwhile, we do have Anseals coming out. No Trojan, no drop play. Stockade coming. I still feel like with the gas that is saved up here as the third base comes down for Hamster, he could still go for tier 2, but he will not. It's a 10 Skithracore switch. Hamster and Art of Turtle are the only two Zerg players I've seen actually make Skithracores. And for Art of Turtle, it didn't necessarily work out too well. But for Hamster, he has found a way to make the unit surprisingly useful. Now, does he have enough to cover this push out is the question. The one Zeth watching as the Talos mines gas from a distance. If Aoud actually pushes across the map right here, this could be very bad. And you can see Hamster recognizing he has to slow this advance. He does not have the military to do it. That being said, we have 10 skiths. I think there's a few more being made as well. He could go in and clear out the Watchdogs or ignore them and just sit on top of the worker line. It takes a long time for skiths to die. They are pretty tanky, as long as you're not factoring Splash into the mix. Zeth's moving a little bit deep just to see what's going on. He recognizes what's happening here. That Lake is dancing with a little bit too close to the sun, it felt like. But Izira is just for emergency chaff. He's pushing the buttons. The skith's massing up. Anseal might have spotted them a little bit there. Has Aoud reacted? He attacks his own Anseal, breaking the shields. Not exactly ideal. Don't know if he'll be punished for it exactly as he tries to deploy himself. This is a position where Hamster doesn't necessarily want to lose all of his units. He's just throwing the front line at them, and here come the skiths from the side. The Madrigals are deployed, not dealing their splash damage. Oh, it still feels like it's a little bit too much. If he was going to attack with that, it felt like he needed to do it a bit sooner. Oh, narrowly avoid... Oh, but there's the splash hits, yeah. That's very rough, man. A lot of what Hamster had there. I guess... I don't know what he was thinking with the skits. I thought he was going to use them for the harassment. That would have been a much cleaner way of doing it, especially since there's only one Watchdog in the main. But you can see the economy for Aoud is still rocking and rolling over here, and he's got lots of units. The bio seems to have lived through the stage where obviously it's not going to be the most useful thing in the world, but he's absolutely got a lot of chaff that he can still deal with. You can throw at the problem, and Hamster doesn't really have the same situation. He's got that third base, but it's not actually mining anything right now. Skithracore offered up to the gods. The gods deem it unworthy. Really softening up a lot of these military units here with those phalanxes. There's going to be another engagement wrapping around. This is probably a best case scenario, but those Lakes never got burrowed. That is critical. Hamster's going to lose most of his military force just because his Lakes didn't get burrowed there. I think he would have lost them anyway, but the fight definitely would have looked a bit different. GG is called. Aoud strikes back, countering another all-in from Hamster. And we go to game 4 without knowing who's really in the lead. Genesis Y, the location that is indeed Hamster's domain, it feels like. He narrowly loses out a match against Neblime after choosing to all-in and 6-pool his opponent there. Wild stuff. Is Hamster nervous about this matchup? Is that why he keeps going to the 6-pool and the other all-ins? Or is he just a crafty, chaotic, eclectic man? We're not even an hour into the broadcast and we might be playing the final game as Aoud has grand finals point. Aoud 64 mustering up what he might need as confidence, telling himself, I will beat Neblime. I will beat Neblime. But first he's got to beat Hamster at least one more time. Again, Genesis Y, just to walk you guys through the roster of Terrans that Hamster has already defeated. Hamster defeated Top Ramen and the Shambler in this tournament on Genesis Y. I don't even know if it was actually played against Aoud. I can't remember if it was. I believe it might not have been. Let's go ahead and find out because we do have a Liquipedia page. It was! Okay, that was the... How could I forget? That was the decider. Aoud 64 dropped it in Game 5. So, Hamster has only lost to a Protoss on Genesis Y, and it was because he tried to 6-pool him, and Protoss are pretty good at dealing with that. So, as we get into our match, what could be the final map? Aoud 64 has to make good on a map that he lost earlier. But the spawns are different now than they were back then. Ladies and gentlemen, Hamster in the top right, as our Russian green Zerg will not be 6-pooling this time. Aoud 64 in the bottom right. He is our Pumpkin Terran. And it looks like Aoud will be rocking and rolling with the Stockades once more. Does not have any Vespene coming. There's the Stockade. What do we think about that? You know, I have it set so that I remind you guys about coffee every 90 minutes. But I think if Hamster has his way, he's going to close this series much sooner than that. The Zork's Shroud opener. And straight back onto Vespene. Hamster is going for a Zoryus rush. Will Aoud 64 fall prey to it again? Last game, it was because he went for that Fulcrum. He went for that Fulcrum on Paradise in the last series. And this build got him. But this is a 2-spawn map. You don't need to run any gambits to figure out where your opponent is. If you see this, then you best know something fishy is afoot. And this build is so ridiculously all in. Like, I don't think we're going to see what happened on Demoloon, where Hamster transitions out of his 6-pool after getting some damage. If this build doesn't kill the Terran, I am not predicting that it will work out for Hamster. I think if Aoud survives with any semblance of eco, it will be all she wrote for our Zerg, and we will see a TVP in the grand finals. Aoud scouts it. Aoud sees it. The Zork's Shroud with 4 Zoryustaleths on the way. My God! What do you do against that? In the face of such hatred, in the face of such gall, an all-in for the 4th game in a row. The first 3 Zoryus march across the map, the 4th hatching a mere few seconds later. A 3rd Stockade. Aoud has confidence in his Huracan Cyprian composition to deal with this threat. We'll see if he's proven correct. Admittedly, Huracan's rend armor. Cyprian's splash as long as their target has 1 or fewer armor. So after 2 hits to the Zoryus, the Cyprian will indeed splash it. And Mavericks are going to go very, very well versus low armor targets. First Zoryus brought down very low already. Should definitely think about burrowing that. Hamster, what more do you got? The 4th one is arriving. He's slowly massing up a few Rilla cores, and Ayud's army does not have the cliff advantage anymore, but, well, scratch that, as a Hamster is falling back. He's got a Larvosk and another Larvosk potentially on the way here. Oh, an anchor float here from Ayud 64. He's going to try to style on him on the way out. The world is watching. When does Ayud's strike force hit? Oh no. He doesn't have a second Cyprian. He's only got one Cyprian. He's got to turn back around. That's going to give a Hamster a bit of time. He's got another Zoryus and a lake is. Another lake is on the way. A second lake is on the way. My God. He's going to ferry his units in bit by bit. And this feels like it's a dangerous gambit, doesn't it? I mean, if Ayud loses his army, he's got no retreat path out of the base. He's elevatoring in everything he's got. Ayud has so much money behind this as well that he's not immediately spending. This slow boil. It's either a brilliant move or a desperate one, to put it nicely. But hey, with Hamster stretching his legs here, dropping his Hatcherosk for his Expo. I've never seen somebody do an anchor float elevator. I've always theory crafted it, but here it is. And the Shroud is going to spot it first. How quickly does Hamster pull his units back? The answer is very quick. Needs to get that lake is dropped. He's going to end up losing his Shroud if he doesn't act fast. The stim is good. The Shroud is taken. But you know what? So too are all of Ayud 64's units. But hey, he's going to start heckling the workers over here. One of the Lakes did die, crucially. Zoryus are going to finish that one off as the poor anchor is going to be taken care of. This is still a pretty deadly force. The pool on the way. Another Larvosk on the way. These specialty units here are basically heroic units now. He cannot rebuild them. There's already a Savant and an Eidolon out for our Terran player. He did not expand behind this. No, he did. And he's got a Star Pad coming as well. It doesn't seem quite likely that our Zerg player can make anything happen here in the early stages of the game. Instead, it seems like to me, as Ayud maybe considers a hidden base off to the side, it seems to me that this is going to go a little bit macro. Hamster isn't that far behind when it comes to workers. But let's just talk about tempo. Ayud has it all. He might not be able to bust in on the front line with the composition he's got now, but as soon as he gets an Ant Seal and a few more Eidolons, well, he's going to throw down some Watchdogs for now. Cover himself for any would-be attacks. I'm really not sure that Ayud would have gotten much done with that anchor if it had been landed in the battle. It felt like it was just not a good move versus someone making Lakes. And straight into the ski backed, Hamster is going to either die on Skith Hill or finally pivot into Bactylisks. If he does the latter, he's going to need them trusty Ovaleths to clear out the Eidolons, almost certainly. Either that or rebuild his Shroud so he can get a beefy front line like Zoryus. All right, Ayud, what do you got for us? I saw you tackling that Mason. I saw you mousing over that area. Oh, Zoryus is now interested in the position up here. Will he actually scout the 7 o'clock? I'm not sure. I guess it's more closer to 8. Looks like he's going to follow him all the way to the top left, so. Oh no, you've spawned a brood spawn. Poor Mason. Or as Ayud, for some reason, calls him Manson. He's just a big metal guy, or punk. What I don't even know what genre Marilyn Manson would be considered. I feel like it's not quite metal. It's more, I guess it's probably like the goth genre. I don't know. I feel like most genre labels are really dumb and not very descriptive. You know? You guys ever feel that way? While we watch that ring around the rosy, these biotic bastions are being killed by Mr. Ayud. He's adding fulcrums to the mix. 5 Bactylisks being made for our Zerg player. He's already got a few out. Feels like more of a defensive posture. That Mason finally going to go ahead and get wiped. Is this position going to get checked? I can't quite tell if Hamster is aware of the potential for the hidden base. He was doing great scouting on Demaloon. Not really so much in this game, but we know that the longer games are going to be possible for him to do that with. Hamster does see the army, and he does see the move out. He sees that there's Eidolons present. Will he make an Avaleth for detection? Taking his third base here, but no force garrisoning this position feels like a mistake now that he has all of this forward information. But let's see. He's not confident that the move out's actually happening just yet. He's going to pull his Zorius away. Hey, look, the treasury is being put down. That could be canceled by a single Zeth. If it ever gets Crackalack, he scouts no third base going on location. The Antseal's revealing the burrowed unit. No hope there for Hamster to get scot-free, get away with his scouting. Every now and then you check in on the player's bank, see if they're saving up for Tier 2. Not the case for Aoud, that's for sure, and Hamster just spent more of his gas on the Bactyls. The 1-Zeth, once again, keeping tabs on this army. It's pretty important stuff. Aoud's starting to factor on in. He's got his Madrigals coming, his Blackjacks coming, but honestly, the Bactylisks are really, really strong in this position, especially if there's some cliff disparity that they can capitalize upon up here on this spoke. Zorius will finally be put down. Sees the full breadth of this military, though. That does count for something. That is worth something. Problem is, now he's kind of overcommitted on the idea that Aoud is moving in that position. He's going to have to pivot away back to his third base if he wants to defend it. And Aoud is going to get free access up the ramp, it looks like. A couple of units going to be hatching on location. 11 pairs of Quas as well, just chaff to add. Haraka and Izirikor getting traded. A couple of these units getting a little bit too close for comfort. It feels like there's the Lakis Burrow. Oh boy, that could definitely be working wonders, but they get focused down. Bactyl's cleaning off the left side flank. Another Lake is going to get pushed back, and it looks like the deployed units are going to be offered up on the retreat. Oh, look at that. Nice Hydra push. That reveals so many extra units and gets some extra bounces for the Bactylisks. Now, what does Hamster do? He's mostly just got the Bacts. He does have a bunch of the Lyrilisks. He's got so many minerals. I think he's only now realizing it. Needs to expand, spend down that mineral bank, and maybe try to pressure this position over here so that Aoud doesn't get a free third base himself. Anchor floating in the middle of the map. Well placed. And yeah, listen, Aoud did not pressure on the ramp. Now, there's no front line over here. So Hamster is not going to be able to take this position for free. Eidolon's just definitely going to pepper things down using the cliff advantage. The Anchor will at least go down. Oh no, the Eidolons are very far forward here. Yeah, Aoud is gonna pay for that one. 3 Eidolons going down. They got 1 Bactylisk to their name. And now it looks like, hey, Hamster's thinking about it. The Harakans do eat a lot of the bounces though. That's gotta be pointed out. Now the Antseals are out of detection. Now out of life. The 1 Phalanx in the backline, I don't know if it's enough. I think Hamster's gonna break his position here, but he thinks twice about it and falls back. Looks like it was very, very close. Narrow margins there. Aoud holds on, but an expansion in that satellite base at 2 o'clock. A 5th base potentially on the cards here for Hamster in the top left. Zorka's Shroud being rebuilt, recognizing he wants those Zoryus. He's got so much money. Ordering up another round of Bactyls, another round of Hydras. 2.5k minerals could be a lot of Zoryus. The Stockade Float definitely helping Aoud out, soaking up a lot of damage. More Covenants, more Stockades. He's really doubling down right now on the bio play. And I love to see that little variety, but you stray from the established path at your own peril. Couple of anchors here, but they're not actually full of anything. This base barely harvesting anything. The Talos has just arrived. Eidolon spotting a little bit too far forward, it looks like. And this Talos is going to reveal the position, perhaps. Yeah, at this point, I think Hamster, well, he might not recognize that as a Talos corpse, of course. And look at this, Aoud, he's going to have to contend with this push, and reinforcements can definitely come in from that third base angle. I don't even know if Hamster will need them. Let's find out, because there's no healing or sustain here for those Phalanxes. 2 of them are about to pop. They get a nice little shot to remember them by, but there's nothing here for a front line for either player now, and I think Hamster's going to have to start pulling back pretty soon because of those unseen Eidolons. Not a whole lot of Bactylisks there. He's going to go after the Madrigal. More units streaming on in. Oh, he doesn't kill the Madrigal, though. Lag Spike perhaps helping Aoud hold a little bit longer. Look at how many more units there are for Hamster. He can remax and hit that front line again. Instead, I think he might want to split the forces, find out where the engagement is by re-attacking from this side base. Oh, yeah. Aoud has actually taken the choice to focus his position. He's definitely getting a lot of Vespian over there, and the Atlas on the way for him. No tier 2 in sight for our Zerg player. Is he going to be able to close the game before then? Now, at this point, the Stockade is providing bounces onto that bio ball. That's going to be an elimination of the bio in the northern flank, and the Bactylisks diving onto the Phalanx that has no armor. Hamster struggled in practice with Bactylisks, but he's pulled them out at the right time now. He's even found a little bit of a discovery at that very important 8 o'clock base, and that's going to be a wipe of the eco at the third. What more does Aoud have as he lifts the Ministry desperately? But look at that, the Zets killed the Treasury. Those Taluses will not be able to do anything. 15 Izira cores here to try to close the shop, but you know what, Hamster? You're still going to have to clear through him. He's not giving up yet. Tier 2 just dropped for Hamster. He recognizes that if my opponent hasn't left based on this, I found a secret base, I killed his third, I wiped most of his eco, I've got a massive eco advantage, then he must have some tech on the way. Aoud has been known to hold on for dear life in the last stages of some of these games, and as those anchors fall, he's going to have no map vision outside of his main and natural. And he might have his Atlas on the way, but I think we can all see the writing on the wall. Hamster's about to push us to a Game 5. Blackwater Bastion, he's coming for you, Nebelheim. He is not done with this series yet. Will he get a little bit too overzealous? He doesn't have a front line to reveal those Eidolons. Maybe the Regress Hydras will do the trick, but maybe the Izira cores are just what the Doctor ordered anyway. Yeah, he's going for it. More units rallying in. The map is awash with more and more Zerg. And now with the Atlas finishing construction, nothing is coming for Aoud to use it. He is desperately holding on, but the Bactyl count is too high. 22 in falling, but I think Aoud is falling first. He'll have to call GG as his economy is wiped at the natural. We're going to Game 5 again. That's what I like to see, boys. I like to see the crazy, wacky builds that Hamster decides to do every single day, every single game. And now we go to a 4-spawn map. This is what Aoud wanted to avoid if he could. He did not like the idea of Zerg rolling 4-spawn maps and potentially doing that crazy Zoryus rush or other such styles versus him in a category where he was not going to be capable of scouting them down. Phew. All right. Game 5, baby! These two can't get enough of each other, but the series has to end sometime. Will it end here? I mean, the answer is yes, but who will it end here for, is the question. I see people calling it for Aoud. Aoud in the chat, but Alexander is in the chat, and he loves Zerg. Ladies and gentlemen, Game 5 is on the cards. And you know what? If this game lasts long enough to get us to that 90-minute mark where the coffee link gets posted in the chat, I think somebody should donate. In fact, I think you should donate anyway. If you got the cash to spare, especially around the holidays, I know that's pretty rare. But hey, we turn that cash into development, into new features, into exciting shit. So I hope you guys are excited for our shit. Blackwater Bastion, whew, that's a good shit right there. Shout out to Luciferius. He posted the link already. With that being said, I hope you guys will join us for the end of the year. Saturday and Sunday, the final weekend of December, the 29th and the 30th. Or sorry, 28th and the 29th, excuse me. 1 week from tomorrow, we will have Winter War 2024. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you only ever play versus AI. It's a for fun event, organized ad hoc. Whoever's available, whenever they want to play, we find a way to do it, and we broadcast it as if it were a tournament. So just wanted to shout that out in here because we are about to get into Game 5. Ladies and gentlemen, if I was in an arena, I'd say make some noise, but you'd already be making it. It's Game 5 of our lower final, and you know what that means, boys. It's going to be Hamster. He is rocking and rolling in the top right. Ooh, boy, that's 3. I'm going to say he's the dark green Zerg. And in the bottom right, we've got Ayud64. He is our pumpkin Terran. Oh, shout out Doglived. Getting us that money. Getting us that cash money. Thank you, homie. I do appreciate it. He's been putting in the work, you know? He's been putting in some maps. Just sent in $25 towards the Christmas fund. I do appreciate that. Now, Hamster is rocking and rolling with an 8 pool. I said rocking and rolling. I didn't know he's rocking and rolling this way. Ayud back to his Fulcrum Quarry. That's my prediction anyway. And with the 8 pool, I don't actually know what Hamster's going to do with this build order. Like, as far as I am aware, the 8 pool is usually good in Z Mirror if you're expecting a 6 pool and you want to defend without being too far behind. Because you get your units up in time, but you get a better eco to get your Larvosk up sooner and stuff like that, right? I'm not really sure what you do as an 8 pool here. It's pool into Larvosk, essentially. So he might just be expecting some kind of giga-aggressive play from Ayud, who will be scouting his opponent first, judging by what I see here. He did not get his instincts to move him to a cross-spawn scout, the way he scouted Hit 'em Up yesterday. It was a cross-spawn on Decapitation Game 5. So he's got his instincts correctly aligned for Game 5 scouting his opponent first on a 4-spawn map so far. That is absolutely the case. Another Kagran going down. He sees that, he's probably going to feel pretty good that this is like a fairly normal-ish build. He's going to confirm it's a pool. It's not a shroud, right? He doesn't have to worry about some weird Zerg unit that he doesn't normally go up against in the early game, killing him. And he sees the Larvosk. He sees another Kagran. That's probably another Larvosk, right? Like, these are all things that you can look at and think, okay, I'm not going to die in the early game. There is no worry about that. The Vulture has mined out this position and is now moving on an attack command to the bottom left. I don't know why. We'll have to interview him about that later. Okay, so Zets are going to move around. One of them will find out where the Terran player is. They're going to clear out some mines in the process as well. I like these little placements over here in case there's like a staging with an Ovaleth or something, but yeah, I mean, at this point, with the mine plus the Vultures swarming the place, it's actually a heavy Vulture from Ayud. He doesn't normally do that, making 3 Vultures before his scrapyard. But indeed, his quarry is operational. He's going to confirm no expansion just yet from his opponent. Hamster going for the 4 larvae on 1 base for now. I would predict he would go up to a 5th, but that's only because I've seen Hit 'em Up do that, and I think he's echoing Hit 'em Up right now. He did the backdoor build finally. It finally won him a game. He's got it. He's got it, boys. Let's see what he does. Now, 3 Vultures on the low ground versus Quaz. It's actually a pretty good fight for the Vultures. Another Zeth getting caught and sees the Blackjack there. Another mine cleared. Still good mine coverage. It's actually allowing Ayud to feel like he can set his ministry up on the low ground, which is a nice little boost to the eco there. All right, Hamster will be expanding off of... No, actually, that's a Kagran. Okay, I was going to say, I thought maybe Hamster would expand off of the existing larva that he's got, but we'll see. We did see him get up to tier 2 in the last game, but kind of like Ayud64, he didn't need to use it. Ayud couldn't use it. He was dead before then. Zets confirm the Vulture contain. But hey, there's nothing else out there, so maybe Ayud will be muscled out as the Quaz arrive. Yeah, you can do a little bit of micro tricks, but like the deeper into the game you go, the harder that's really going to be. Unfortunately for Hamster, the Zeth Scout does not make it out. Good pullback. That was definitely worth it. Going for the Vornath follow-up here is Hamster. What is the play from Aoud? It looks like he's going to be going for the Palladium add-on for the second Fulcrum. He has been pivoting into a faster Phalanx, a faster Madrigal, depending on the situation. It's a good adaptation, right? And now adding a third Fulcrum, so it's going to be heavy into mech. 5 pairs of Nathricors. If those hit before there's that much anti-air, we could definitely see some good hits. Now, the Blackjacks are not with the army. They're still at home. But the Nathricors can snipe these Talos before you would necessarily expect, right? Like, much faster than you would think. A little bit of damage exchange versus the Quas and the Volts. Nothing too big. Nathricors are 8 strong, and now 10 strong. Oh, there's actually 2 more pairs coming. So we're going to have 14 Nathricors be descending upon Aoud 64's base. That is going to give him time to get a Cyprian and a Madrigal. I don't think that this is going to work out too well. But if Hamster can actually muscle these Vultures out of the way, he is making his Vorvs. Like, hopefully that's going to be enough for him to maybe pull the military units away. They are causing a lot of damage. Like, Aoud 64 is wrecking havoc with those. Nathricors are going to hug. It looks like they're not going to be attacking with the rest of the force, which is a little bit unfortunate because we have the Madrigal, we've got a Cyprian. It looks like the Cyprians are earmarked for the anchors. Now, at the very least, there's going to be a little bit of harassment here. Oh, Aoud should have seen that. Aoud 100% should have seen that from his mine. Going after the Talos is a good move here. Instead, he goes after some of the Masons. Needs to pull back as the anti-air splash is already there. He does get a good number of workers. He even picks the star pad. That's really, really good, actually. He needs to hopefully get out without losing too many of the Nath. Nice pullback from Hamster. Holy shit. That was really good. He saw which one was being targeted, and he was like, yep, you can have that one. Loses 2 Naths to save the rest of the flock, so to speak. And some Masons, I don't know why they were up there, but they're cleared. Meanwhile, the Vultures were pulled back or cleared out. I think they must have been pulled, right? Yeah, I see 3 Vultures with the army. Hamster setting up for a counterpush. His Orcus Shroud nearly complete. The Madrigal is off on its own. Where's it going? Oh, no. Aoud's about to lose this Madrigal. Will he get at least 1 hit? No, he's not going to kill a single Nath. Oh, my God. That was a little bit unfortunate. We still have 1 mine here. Might erroneously get caught. No, the Quas magically path into the anchor without seeing it. Avaleth here to detect the rest of the mines. They are showing themselves as well, though, and when you see that, you're definitely thinking, oh, what do I do about that? Okay. Madrigals are standing guard, standing vigil. Now, Hamster can try to threaten a break. I mean, setting a lot of these units right next to the mine is, I would say, a bold move. Aoud is not going to be doing anything with those. Oh, unfortunately for Hamster, he's going to lose a couple of these Naths. Ooh! Long distance. Adding more of the Watchdogs. He's adding a lot of Watchdogs. Really afraid of the airplay. He lost some workers in that run-by, but I mean, Hamster had been out-ecoing him regardless, although many of his workers are not actually involved. It's going to be a Zethan Vorv drop. Okay, this is an interesting move, because, like, the Madrigals alone can't deal with this. He's going to pull most of his army. Oh, no, he's not. He's pulling only half of his army. And Hamster's waiting for that. He's like, when do you pull more of your army? This is a bigger problem than you think. Palladium going to go down. Vorv's removing some of the armor. That Fulcrum's going to go down, too. That's actually a pretty big deal. He's just going to go ahead and pull back, borrowing the units. That's a brilliant move. Rare to see that. Oh, Aoud might not notice. Dangerously close to unburrowing and maybe giving up the game. Here we go. The unburrow comes out, and surprise! I was still in the base. That's going to be a dead Vulture, dead Blackjack, and that Mason with the Watchdog is gone as well. Looking very dire. Oh, another Blackjack goes down as well. It's looking a bit dire here for Aoud. He's got a lot of money, so not... Like, some of these losses are not that big of a deal to him. It's just, like, mostly I would say a psychological thing at this point. He's going to rebuild another Palladium. It slowed his artillery. He doesn't have a single Phalanx out yet, but he's working on it. Another Scrapyard coming. Behind this, Hamster hasn't exactly, you know, stolen the game when it comes to the macro department. He's still protecting his flank in the main. He's got a lot of bases. I mean, a lot of workers, rather. And he's starting to think about dropping his 3rd. But it feels like if he had been able to do that a little bit ago, he would have been in a better position. I do like that he's double expanding, moving to 12 o'clock now, the interior 12. But the game's not over yet. Aoud is just, he's down 20 workers, which is not ideal, but that worker advantage is not being actuated that much right now. Hamster still on the same base count as his opponent. It will be a Lakers push, but hey, those watchdogs are still sitting pretty. And the Talos now seeing that, yeah, we probably should still be sitting pretty. I don't think Hamster's going to be able to make it in there. The lake is revealed. Okay, here comes Hamster going for the critical move. No detection right now except for that Shaman. If it goes down, this could be a real big problem here. But oh, the salvos, it does go down. The lake is mostly on the far side though. Not that many units over here, and Hamster makes the decision to pull back. He clears about half of Aoud's force. Maybe a little bit less than that. And he's going to allow him to take a third base. Now again, Avaleth, good map control. He does have the ability to saturate his third base very quickly and his fourth base right after. He also has tier 2 money. Let's see what he does with it. There it is, tier 2, on the way. He's not pulling any workers away from his oversaturated bases. 30 workers on minerals in the natural. He's actually got an okay number in the main. Maybe even a little bit low, actually. As Aoud clings on to his grand final aspirations. There's a number of times there where Hamster felt like he was pretty close to breaking, but unfortunately he just did not have the best engagement. He came in from one angle, did not get a good surround, and his opponent still has no ant seals, right? He sniped the star pad before it was made, and Aoud never remade it. This could be a little bit of an overextension from our Terran player. He's not deployed. The Zethicors are going to get on top, but no! The lake has got double and burrowed! Oh no! Control issues for Hamster. He's going to go ahead and burrow again, but now there are Shamans here. And that is a huge mistake. A huge salvo of spines could have very easily changed the complexion of that engagement. But Hamster ripping his Lakizilisks out from under the ground afterwards. Can he hold on? Can he hold on? The Iris is done, but he's not really going to be able to leverage that anytime soon. Making a lot of Lakes, making a lot of Zeths. Right now, Aoud is being driven across the map, and Antseal has arrived. Looks like it was remade at one point. The workers are abandoning the 12 o'clock so that they can come to the 3rd and saturate it. Which, if Aoud goes to the 12, it might be the best case scenario for Hamster. Talos considering the 3 o'clock position is actually going to start a ministry there. That's a bit ballsy. At this point, you could just run the Lakers in to the 3rd base and ruin Aoud's career, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Is that actually what Hamster's going to do? He's going for a lot of Azorius. A lot of the moves here are dead set on figuring out where Aoud's army is and not where he should move his own. It feels like, I don't know, it feels like the Lakers should just move somewhere else as the 12 o'clock is going to get cleaned up. Mutat Spire halfway complete. Zorius are out. Oh, he's laid a little bit of a trap here, making it a bit awkward for Aoud. He's going to pull he's going to pull back. I don't know. I'm so nervous for really both of these players. They got so much money. And look at this. He's found a position that's being taken here right now. Going to pinch off some of the Zeths. Aoud already moving some of his army over there to protect the investment. 13 stories. No, he cancels some of them. He's going to go for the Muta switch right now. A lot of these units getting caught in the middle of nowhere. Going to be a little bit rough for Aoud here as he ends up losing a phalanx or two. Trades it for Azorius, not too terrible. Needs to pull back with those Lakers, otherwise Hamster's just going to get splattered here. He's got a lot of them, and it is going to make it difficult to egress, but Aoud's still going for it, still being aggro. Remember, the Muta switch. Atlas only now being put down. Once again, Hamster finds himself with a tier 2 advantage, but he does not have the army advantage the way he did on Demaloon. If he dares to fight the army that Aoud has with 4 madrigals that can snipe his mutas out of the sky and a host of blackjacks, it feels like the mutas are just going to evaporate. Oh no. Oh no. Oh lord. Do not do that. Do not do that, Hamster. You've got to take those mutas and take them somewhere safe. Put them somewhere safe, like in the middle, catching reinforcements. A much better usage for them right now. They are not a good fighting unit. Well, they are softening up the Antseals at least. The Lake is doing a good job on the front line, distracting things, making this fight a bit ugly. Madrigal's still doing okay. The Lake is slowing the ground unit push. What do the mutas do? He's down to 9. He's got plenty of Zorius to try to absorb these shots, but the Lakers are not moving forward. The Lakers are not moving forward right now. He's got no sustained fire with this force. Hamster feels like he's on the precipice of being broken. by a player that he almost surely had dead to rights. He's making more mutas, but that's all he's got right now. He was out. He was out. Hamster GG's. And there you go. Ayud64, in many ways, limping into the grand final to face Neblime tomorrow. Licking his chops, our Aussie Protoss. Gonna be looking at that and saying, I can do that. Well, GG's, ladies and gentlemen. I'll let that one simmer. I'll let that one stew. And I'll take a sip and tell you that we have our grand finalist, our second grand finalist. After this showing, Ayud64 is going to have to think about how to do the things he did against Hit 'em Up instead of the things he did against Hamster. I feel like game one could have made all the difference. Hamster having some control issues at the beginning. If he didn't have those situations, and if he maybe just controlled his engagement a little bit better, perhaps on near impact, perhaps on that very important final map, things could have been different. But they aren't different, ladies and gentlemen. I say, let's get a word from our second grand finalist. Ayud64, you have made it through over Hamster. He was not able to get the better of you this time. How are you feeling after that series?
Man, it was really hard for me, you know. I'm still shaking. But I feel relieved that I could put it off. You know, the games were harder than expected. For a moment there, I thought I would lose, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, that last game especially, we'll get to that. I want to bring you all the way back to Muspelheim. This was a match that I was really excited to see Hamster try the crazy build that he tried, but it didn't really work out for him, did it? There were some control issues. Were you at all expecting a Hydra-oriented Circuith drop, as it were, where he's trying to put the static defense in your base? Like, tell me what you were thinking after that one.
You know, in the past he had tried a similar strategy before, but without the circuits, just with the early Hydra aggression. So when I saw the Hydras, I was like, well, I can definitely stop this. But then I saw the Overlord, and
yep.
I mean, yeah, it was weird, and dropping those circuits in front of my base, you know, I was really shocked. I didn't know what to expect, but I don't know. For some reason I thought that he wouldn't be able to pull it off, you know, economically. So you know, I just kept defending with the bolters. Yeah, it looks like his strategy needed, you know, a little bit more of work, maybe.
A little bit of refinement, I think, when it comes to the micro in particular. I think the execution was off because, you know, his Hydras were running into the mines before his Avaleth got there to detect. So there's a little bit more there that he could have done, and I feel like maybe that's one of those things where it's not even necessarily nerves. It's just sometimes your first game of the day doesn't go so well. And I know he did get a little bit of practice beforehand when he was playing. I think it was against some Terran practice partner, but he was practicing a little bit. And so you can't necessarily blame it on like, oh, first game of the day. Sometimes that happens. But I think he shook it off quite well. We talk about Demoloon, which is where we went next. And he was able to immediately have the gusto, the gall, the stones to immediately six-pool you. Get some good damage on your Anchor, your Vulture, your Quarry, I think one Mason. And then from that point onward, he's good to go. You know, he just macros up, gets to a fast tier 2. The mutas come out. How are you feeling about that game? Like, at basically at the stage where you narrowly end up, you do end up losing a lot to the six-pool, but you don't die outright. And then eventually when the mutas come, what was your thought process during that Demoloon match?
Yeah, man, that defeat was tough for me. Because in the past we will practice, you know, some games, and he will try this six-pool weird rush, but he managed to work every time against, you know, my Quarry first, and especially when I'm opening with a Fulcrum. So he had also destroyed my Quarry, and when that happens, I will lose almost every time. So I knew I was in trouble, you know. I couldn't remake the Quarry. I I don't know. I just fell so far behind from that point. But I just tried to defend. But his macro just he was I guess he was just too ahead. When I saw the mutas, I was so shocked. I was surprised because he had tier 2 units. I don't know. It was a dread feeling. I didn't think that I will win that match from that point in particular. He just had too many units, but that's Hamster right there. He sometimes will come with a lot of units out of nowhere, and the next thing you know, it's that everything dies. So yeah.
The next game was a bit more straightforward, but in some ways it was a quintessential chaos theory. Nobody's going to think I'm going to 6-pool a third game, Well, really, it's an all-in a third game, right? But he 6-pools you again, right back to back on near impact. This time you hold it with the stockades, and he's not able to transition as cleanly. What was your thought process going into some of the move-outs you decided to do? And how did you feel when you saw him 6-pool into your double stockade opener? Because it almost feels like, while you weren't necessarily planning for a 6-pool, you were ready for it, and you were also ready to transition out of it if need be.
Yeah, like I said before, I had practiced a lot of games against Hamster, and he will do these rushes frequently. So since the last rush in Demillion worked so well, I thought he might try it again. And I know that if I open with the stockade, it is most likely I'm gonna stop the rush more effectively. So I opted for that strategy. I delayed my quarry, but it looks like it paid off. Then from that point, I just knew that I could just defend, because 6-pool, it takes a toll in your economy. So I just played as safest as possible, building anchors and everything. And once I had my ideal composition to move out, I just went for the kill.
All right, yeah, good timing on your front, I believe, and good awareness of the strategic evolution of the series. I want to get your impressions on Genesis Y. Were you at all expecting him to go for yet another, in my opinion, all-in opening? 4 games in a row? Like, what a mad lad. I don't think I've seen anybody do it before. Certainly not in Cosmonarchy, but I mean, I'm sure it's happened in maybe some foreign StarCraft Cups or some Brood War stuff from way back. It's just wild to see somebody do all-ins 4 games in a row. And, 2 of them sure were repeats because it was just the 6-pool, but 3 distinct ones across those 4 games. What were you thinking when you scout this 5-egg Zorki's Shroud opener? Your Mason gets there, you see all the eggs.
Yeah, and I was prepared for it because, all these builds, all these rushes, I've seen it from Hit 'em Up. He has also done it to me before. I remember, even I remember yesterday after the game against Hit 'em Up, we were talking a little bit, and I just asked him, hey man, how do I stop this build? How do I stop, the Starkish rush? Because every time you did it to me, I will lose. So right. he gave me some tips. Unfortunately, the tips he gave me was revolving a fulcrum, but I opened with a stockade.
Yes.
But when I figured out that I would, just keep pumping units and wait for him, I preemptively practiced that specific build. Before the tournament, like 1 hour, before the tournament, I would pick Zerg, and in a single player map, and I would do the exact same build, so I can study the exact timing of the rush, storming my front door, and I would prepare some builds for it. So yeah, I was ready, but unfortunately, I don't know, man, I wasn't feeling in that game. I was banking a lot of minerals. I don't know. I guess my failed attempt, to with the anchor. I just wanted. I don't know. I didn't expect the lackeys, and I didn't also just land my anchor, in time. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I felt like it wasn't myself, Maybe I don't know, man. Sometimes you wake up and you're feeling it, and other times it's just not like not quite. But nevertheless, I'm just glad, despite of that losing Genesis Y, that it took a heavy toll in my confidence, because I think I played horribly, and
Oh,
Hamster
sure,
really
yeah.
really he did what he could to take advantage of that. He kept pressing and he kept pressing. He never let me a chance to breathe out again.
Hmm.
And I guess he was smelling the blood. He
Yes.
knew that I was weak. Yeah, that was a good game for him. But yeah, man, Genesis Y, I hate that map.
Well, you were the one who picked it, so you had some ideas there. And even if they didn't end up working out in the long run, I mean, there was definitely some cool attempts. And I think that the fact that Hamster finally pushed the Bactylus key, as I think Hit 'em Up was saying in the chat earlier, yeah, that ended up changing things up because, I mean, at that point you were predominantly like, I think you were a mixed comp still. You did have a good, healthy amount of bio and then some supportive mech and air. But at the end of the day, I really want to dial in on Blackwater Bastion. If you don't mind indulging me here, this game was so back and forth. The final game of the series, game 5, he does not all in. He goes for a normal opener, but he still has such interesting, unique tactics. I've never seen Nathracors plus the Watchdog, sort of anti-Watchdog position where he drops the Ovaleth, all the Zets and Vorvs in them with the Nathracors sort of flying cover so that the Ovaleths don't die. Like, stuff like that while he's still threatening at the front gates. You can't take your whole army in to defend your base. You end up losing the Star Pad to the Nath run by. You end up losing the Palladium and a Fulcrum in construction to the drop. Like, what was going through your head as these raids are happening to your base all the time, and you kind of, in some ways, even though you have plenty of military, you can't vacate that front gate, so you're almost barely hanging on, right? A fight for survival. What was that like?
Yeah, man. I mean, it was total chaos. This is like the hamster style. That right there, that game, I think describes perfectly how does it feel to play against Hamster, because it's exactly what you just said. I knew he was tempting to storm the front, but also he was doing drops, and I was just barely trying to keep up. I didn't know what to expect either, because I wasn't able to take my third comfortably. I wasn't scouting anything, so I was blind. I didn't know how far ahead or behind he was. So I just tried to keep it cool, try to defend as much as possible. But I knew that I would have the superior army, because mech terrain is so strong, and once you have 7+ fulcrums active, it's really hard for the Zerg, to deal with that composition, because phalanx can just focus target lackeys, and madrigals just kill everything else. The maybe the rest of the units, they're just there to take some hits and help a little bit with the DPS, but the main characters in the composition are definitely the phalanx and the madrigals. So I decided to play the slow, because it units a big mag. It's a map that tends to favor macro plays. Maybe on a shorter map, his rush would have worked better.
Right.
But since it was Blackwater, I was thinking about this match. I mean, the possibility that we would play on this map, and I just stuck with my plan, with my game style, my play style, and I had this build specifically for this map, because I had beaten Hamster with the exact same build in practice games in the same map. So I think that helped me to boost my confidence a little bit. But definitely props up to Hamster, because he tried really hard with different tactics. It was a good attempt. Maybe if it was another player with less experience,
Yes.
he would have definitely would have taken the game, the whole series.
I still have some I don't know what to say about it, but it's like it almost feels like there's unfinished business between you two. I did just see that funny comment from Shopkeeper Dog where he said, "What a crazy best of 10. It's 5-5 between Hamster and A because he beat you 3-2, then you beat him 3-2." So very interesting stuff to see the way that it played out. And I still wonder if the unit control had been better in that Muspelheim game, how would that strategy have played out? And then if he had a Droleth coming to throw down an extra Kagrant to maybe add some more pressure to that, like that would have been kind of crazy. Regardless, thinking about all of those things is one thing. The mutas in this game, in this series, on Demaloon, the Mutalisks were a combat unit, which I feel they struggle with so much, especially versus Madrigals. But you only had like one Madrigal on Demaloon, maybe two max. On the second time the mutas show up, which is Blackwater, rather than go for your vulnerable third base that you just established and maybe force your hand on a push, either base race or pull back to a more defensive posture, rather than go for a harassment angle, and the same on near impact when he gets the Skither cores out, kind of the same idea. He's using them for combat rather than harass. Those are two key instances where you forget Muspelheim. It was so much micro going on that needed to be done better. You can sort of differentiate between that, but if you change one decision on near impact or one decision on Blackwater to use those harassment units as harassment instead of combat, I do wonder how different the series goes. Not necessarily saying you still don't take it, but I just wonder if those games wouldn't have extended a bit longer, if that wouldn't have caused more chaos, if that wouldn't have given him a little bit of opportunity to get into the game a bit more, because you had leads at that point when the skits came out in near impact, when the mutas came out in Blackwater. You were definitely back in the driver's seat of those matches. So it's not to say that it would have eliminated you from the series or anything, but those are just what ifs that I wonder. And I hope that the next time we see Hamster reprise his role as Zerg, maybe he's able to give us the answer to those questions, because he does have some pretty good moments with his micro and decision making. I don't know about using those harassment oriented units as as combat ones. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that. Like, was that like a peaceful moment when you're like, oh, he's attacking me with these units he's fighting me instead of harassing me? Was that anything in your head, or were you just sort of kind of in a zen moment? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, man. Playing against Hamster, it's always fun. It's stressful, right? But it's fun because I don't know. He brings so much to the table when it comes to variety. He won't. He wouldn't. He doesn't play like the normal way. Like the rest that following the current meta. Massive backtalks and everything. I mean, he sometimes does it, but he's very loyal to his own style. I think the only thing, Hamster may lack two things. One might be a little bit more of experience, because as you said, maybe assessing the situation with my mech, and he would have gone for those with those Mutalisks to some bases, harassing, like hit him up when he went in that map decapitation with the Protoss.
Yeah.
He did something similar, and that threw me off a little bit, and he delayed everything. He even regained his worker advantage, so it was a good move. Maybe if Hamster would have done the same, I'm pretty sure it would have caused some mayhem in my base, and possibly his chance to win the game would have increased. But maybe he was just too scared that I would just go for the kill, and it's a matter of knowing when to pull the trigger. Maybe he may delay something with his lackeys or his ground units, while the Mutalisks will harass everything. But there is no certainty if that would have worked, because maybe he hasn't tried that before, or maybe he hasn't had enough practice game. And the same happens with me. Whenever I see these air units, I panic, because I know that there is that threat present, that he can go to my base at any moment, and even if I build 10 watchdogs, it wouldn't matter, because Mutalisks are so strong against those. Maybe leaving some madrigals at home, but you need those for your army composition.
Right.
So there is a lot in your mind at that moment that take away focus from you, you're like macroing and microing correctly,
Mhm.
because you're also dealing with those split decisions that wouldn't normally come in a regular game. Because Mutalis would have thought that he would go for Mutalis, especially when I have two Palladiums and doing magicals, right? But yeah, he's Hamster. He's very unpredictable player, and I think that's what makes him so good. And I'm definitely will look forward to play more games against him, because I believe that he's like my nemesis, my Zerg nemesis, I would say.
Yes.
I still think that the statistics between us is very close. I wouldn't say one player is better than the other, but I think it's a pretty what do you say, similar skilled match between the two of us.
Yes, even skilled, and in that situation, you're talking about, well, I mean, it's reflected in the scores 3-2, 3-2 for both of your matches and your meets in the Throne Room stage of Acropolis 2. Hamster will be saying goodbye, but you are going to be greeting Neblime tomorrow. How are you feeling about your odds to not just defeat Head 'em Up, not just defeat Hamster in the rematch, but to go all the way? Are you taking this tournament tomorrow?
Well, I intend to, I intend to take everything with me, take the glory,
Yeah,
the throne room.
that's right.
I believe that there is a good possibility I take the whole series. I have confidence in my TVP. Although Neblime has been oddly quiet lately, so I he's scheming something and he's preparing his strategies. He's an interesting product because he also has his own style, and I know, even though I get some practice, it won't be the same, as playing against Neblime. But I'm really looking forward to it. Neblime is also a really good player. I think we will show up some really good games.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it myself. That will, of course, be our one and only best of 7. First to 4 wins will take the series. And, of course, with that, it means that he's got a little bit of that veto advantage coming in from the upper bracket. It'll be an exciting time to see who takes the lion's share of the money. Of course, Neblime has donated a lot to the prize pool. If he doesn't take first place, he's not going to get his return on his investment quite yet. So that'll be a little bit funny. But, I'm looking forward to seeing you two in action, talking to you guys ahead of your match. And with that, you have the floor. If you have any final words to say to people before we say goodnight for the time being, and we meet back up here same time tomorrow.
Well, yes. Just wanted to say, thank you everybody for keep supporting the community and being active, and also for the guys that are constantly rooting for me. I've seen the chat, and I really appreciate those. Even though I find myself like a man of few words sometimes, I just go to the Discord and I just write, hey, I'm looking for gamers, I want to practice. I don't really chat too much or participate, in other maybe activities, but I'm trying, I think that the main reason why I have now more time is because of my ankle injury, but fortunately everything went well with that. So
right.
But yeah, just thank everybody, and thank you, Pronago, for making this possible.
Thank you for joining us for the interview. Congrats on your placement as minimum top 2 in the tournament. And good luck tomorrow. We'll be talking again soon. Ayud, have a great rest of your evening.
Have a great afternoon. You too.
GG's exchanged. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to a close. We're out of here. I hope you've enjoyed the lower final. I sure did. Neblime, Ayud64, the final hype intro, the final series of the year. Before we pack our bags and get ready for the next one. GG boys, we'll see you soon.